Welcome to the Bold Money Revolution podcast. This is your source for straight talking, no fluff, business and high performance conversations that add real depth and value to the way bold leaders live, work, and thrive. I'm your host, Tara Newman. I'm here to show you how to optimize your performance as a leader so that you can grow a business that is profit-rich, efficient, and allows you to generate real, tangible wealth for yourself and others. We are here to help you lead with your values, to perform without overwhelm and burnout, and to do your most important work in the world. Hey, Tara here. You want to know the most stressful part of being a business owner? You want to know what that is? It's making sure you get paid for your expertise, experience, and effort. Most service providers have no idea how much revenue they need to keep the business going and to keep you going. Pay yourself too little, and entrepreneurial poverty kicks in real quick. Pay yourself too much, and you don't leave enough money in the business for growth and a cash cushion. When you worked for someone else, things were easy peasy. You met job requirements, and each week, money appeared in your bank account like clockwork. Now it's a little more complicated than that, so it's normal to be confused. After all, how many of us actually got a financial degree at the same time we were starting a business? From my experience working with micro business owners like you, setting a revenue goal is so difficult, most avoid it completely and just hope they bring in enough. It's also why you might feel like you're working way too hard for what you actually take home. Does this sound like you? I hear from women all the time that navigating their numbers and spreadsheets just isn't their jam, and can even be incredibly intimidating at times. That's why I've made it super simple, easy for you to calculate a clear revenue goal so you're able to pay yourself more than enough and to run your business with financial clarity, confidence, and competency. A clear line of sight will make it so much easier to manage your money and build wealth. This revenue goal calculator is programmed based on my work as a Profit First certified consultant, which means you will know exactly how much money you can afford to pay yourself, how much money you will need to save for taxes, and how much money you can put toward the running of your business. All you need to do is key in a few numbers and you're off the starting blocks. So grab your revenue goal calculator right now to get started paying yourself more. Visit theboldleadershiprevolution.com/revenue or text revenue to 415-528-7403. That's text revenue to 415-528-7403. Hey there. Welcome to the Bold Money Revolution podcast. I'm your host, Tara Newman, and today we are talking some real bold money stuff. As a matter of fact, I'm leaning into my edge around vulnerability on money and transparency, and we are going to talk about where's my money going? Where's Tara's money at? Kind of like where's Waldo, right? And I'm going to, in this episode, talk about what some of my financial goals are, long-term, mid-term, short-term, what my target allocation percentages are in my business from the Profit First model, and how my money flows through my business and into my personal accounts. And this is not meant to shame anyone. This is not meant to say I'm doing it right. This is not meant to create envy or jealousy or any of those things. This is meant to be an opportunity to inspire you to think creatively about your money and how you're giving your money a purpose and how you're directing the flow of your money. Because I think what I see the most, and statistics would support this, is that most women are money hoarders. They're holding on to their money. They're death gripping it. They're not letting it go. And I think the research says about 65% of women really hold on to their money and don't put it to use for them. And I think it's a combination of just not knowing how, not being taught or told, not having an understanding on how money works. And what I want to do is just give people a little bit of opportunity to be curious and to say, I wonder how that would work for me. Wow. I wonder what some short-term goals would be for me. I wonder what different buckets of money in my business or personal life would look like if I were to do this, right? And that's really the place from which I'm coming from. The other part that I want to add here is that we have a dual income household. That means both my husband and I are bringing in personal income. I have additional income from stocks and bonds. I have additional income from dividends. That income right now is being reinvested. It is not being used, but it also does exist. And I want to say that because wealthy people have around 7 revenue streams, 7 income streams in their life. And that has definitely been a very long-term goal for me and my husband, is to be building in more and more revenue streams to insulate us from the ups and downs of, say, just our personal income from our businesses. I think that's really, really important as small business owners. And it goes a long way in providing financial security, but like peace of mind that if, for example, my business starts to slow down or sales are slower in my business, that may not be happening in my husband's business, right? Right now we're both doing fine, but I will tell you that my husband's business is doing way better than mine. Like gangbusters is the level of growth that he's seeing. And that's really helpful for me to take the pressure off. Additionally, it's helpful for me to see that, say, I have dividend income that's piling up and being invested on my behalf passively that I don't have to work or do anything for. So my whole my owner's statement, I guess this is a good time to just remind everybody of my owner's statement, because I think it puts a light on my perspective. And that is to build a business that's in service to my health while growing wealth for myself and others. And that means that everything that I do in my business needs to be easy on my energy. I need to consider how this is activating my nervous system. Is this creating stress? Because stress is incredibly unhealthy. And I understand that there's also good stress, but a lot of stress is very unhealthy and leads to comorbidities. So I don't want to be building a business that's going to then start to create a level of stress that diminishes my immune functioning. So let's start at the beginning. If you do not already have our revenue goal calculator, this would be the time, after this podcast episode, would be the time for you to go and download that. It is theboldleadershiprevolution.com/revenue. And that is where I start. I use the calculator, right? And I start by plugging in my personal expenses. I start looking at what my short-term, midterm, and long-term goals are, and I make sure that they're reflected on that revenue goal calculator worksheet that we give you. Now, the way we work things over here is that my husband's salary, or a portion of my husband's salary, pays for our basics. Like, we make sure that our basics are covered. We live on one salary, and then we are saving and investing what's left over. I will absolutely say that we are minimalists at heart. It's hard when you have teens, but we are minimalists. We have experienced financial hardship in our life. We went bankrupt. We learned how to live on all cash. We learned how to live well below our means, and we continue to do so today, even though our revenue has increased. Sure, we give ourselves some leeway. Yes, we allow ourselves to have some fun, but we also acknowledge that we're both small business owners, and there's a level of unpredictability to that. I mean, for God's sakes, there's a level of unpredictability to if you have a 9-to-5. Let's just be honest, right? Like, people are getting laid off, but we like to plan for those unpredictable moments, because it just calms our nervous system. It makes us feel more grounded and secure, and like everything's going to be okay, even if things start to rumble and shake. So our long-term goal, and I'll say, here's how you think about it. Long-term is like 5+ years. 7+ years. And the reason why I think about it like that is because if you're investing money into the stock market or into real estate or something like that, it's going to take 7 years for your money to double. All right. So anything that you're going to be wanting to be more near term, maybe 1 to 3 years, 3 to 5 years, you're likely not going to want to put into stocks, bonds, ETFs, dividends. That is like a long-term investment strategy. So our long-term goal is to be able to live off income generated by our investments as soon as possible. So preferably in the next 7 to 10 years. It really depends. Obviously, our current economic situation isn't the best, and our money isn't growing as quickly as it has in the past, and that definitely factors in. The other thing that factors into this plan is how we would consider covering our health benefits, which are already very costly, if we weren't going to work at all, right? So this isn't about not working at all. For us, this is about taking the pressure off of being self-employed people, knowing that if for whatever reason, my revenue, his revenue got cut in half, that we would still have the ability to live off of our investments. So that is what we're looking at in terms of a long-term goal. Midterm goal, honestly, that's a little more fuzzy. That's like that 3 to 5 year range. And I think I really want to purchase some real estate, but I'm also not 100% sure. So that's just something that we've got on pause right now until we can get more information and really get clear on whether or not that's something that we want to take on, because there is a level of work that comes with owning property, being a landlord, and I really like making my money without having to work for it. So we will see where we land on that, but that is still very much a philosophical discussion between my husband and I. Short term, we have a lot of stuff going on in the next 1 to 3 years. And that's really where you're going to see a whole bunch of our money being allocated when I take you through how my money maps, right? So things like kids' college, things like vacation plans, fun things, making sure that we have an adequate peace of mind fund going on. Those are all kind of those short-term situations that we have. And so I take that into account, and then I put my information into the revenue goal calculator, and it tells me how much money I need to make sure I'm covering all of these financial goals that we have. The vacation, the kids' education, the peace of mind fund, the retirement investments, all of that. And here's how I approach my money in the business. I'm going to give you my target allocation percentages, which are the profit first percentages. And I know a lot of people who have even just a basic understanding of profit first associate these percentages with profit first. The problem is that that's the least amount of like profit firsting that you can do. If you're like, oh, I'm implementing profit first because I'm implementing the percentages, you're not really implementing profit first. So I just want to be clear that as I give my percentages, that this is really the very least of the profit first system. But first of all, I have an S Corp, and here are my percentages. Revenue comes into my business. That's all the sales that I make, all the monies that I receive into my business. And then it gets allocated in the following way. 10% goes to profit, 35% goes to CEO compensation, 10% goes to taxes, and 45% goes to operating expenses. Those are my TAPs, 10, 35, 10, 45. And what I'm essentially doing is taking home 40% of my business's revenue. I'm paying myself 40% of my business's revenue. And that's what I want to help you do as well. When you work with me one-on-one or join any of my programs, we are going to help you get paid like an expert. We're going to help you get closer to that or past that 6-figure mark in terms of your own personal salary. And the way we're going to do that is by structuring your business to pay you 40 to 50% of your business's revenue. So money comes in, and these are various bank accounts in my business, and I just split the money out. Now, I get a big question around like, why do you need profit? I answer that a number of times, but I'm going to answer it again now. Profit in your business does a couple of things. First of all, if you have any kind of high leverage debt, you are going to take that profit and you're going to put it towards debt. I've had tremendous success with clients paying down huge amounts of debt, like $60,000 in debt in a very short period of time, because we're allocating the profit of the business to debt repayment. If you don't have any debt, you're going to keep 50% of that on a quarterly basis. You're going to keep 50% of that in your business as a cash cushion and let that grow. And then you're going to take 50% of that and use that for your lifestyle, right? So that's for your reward for running a business. So if you want to reward yourself with a vacation, if you want to reward yourself with travel, if you want to reward yourself, my favorite thing to reward myself with is dividends, because then I'm taking money that I've made, putting it into a dividend, and then passively it's generating more revenue for me. So I have to work less hard in my business. That's basically what I like to do with my profit. But in the past, I've bought a Chanel bag, and I've bought art, and I've bought all kinds of fun things with my profit to reward me for my efforts. And then my CEO pay, that covers all the ways that I compensate myself through my business. And in my case, I also include my personal development in that amount of money, because when I was working in corporate and I was a compensation analyst, we implemented a framework called total rewards, and would look at what our employees were making, not just in cash-based compensation, but in reward-based compensation, things like training and development, things like benefits, things like sick time or any kind of paid time off. And we would quantify that and show them how they're benefiting in all these different ways, not just through their base salary. So that's how I look at CEO pay for myself and my clients from a total reward perspective. And those rewards may or may not be direct cash compensation. They might look different. And in my case, personal development is incredibly important to me. So I am fine with using some of my CEO pay for that. My OpEx, my operating expenses, I will tell you that 75 to 80% of that goes to my team. I know women say to me all the time, like, well, what would I do with all that money in my business? Can I just keep it for myself? Can I just hoard it? Right? That's what they're saying. Can I just hoard it? No, you're going to use that to buy yourself out of work. Do you value money or do you value time? Because I want this business to run, and I don't want to have to be working my ass off for it. I don't want to burn out. I don't want to have to close up shop because I'm so stressed and my mental health is in tatters. I want to be able to take a day off, take time off, and have one of my team members cover me on an office hours call, or be able to take time off and have people responding to emails in my inbox, or having projects being handled and worked on that I don't have to touch. And the reality is these women are a lot better at it sometimes than me. And they need work too, and they want to do work that is meaningful to them. And it's a great mutual exchange of money, and money is energy. And I want to exchange energy with these people. So I pay my team well over six figures. That has always been a goal and a dream of mine. And I happily pay these qualified experts to work in my business on my behalf so we can all do our best work and live our best lives. So that's where the money goes. Now, when I take the money out of my CEO pay account and I put it into my personal account, here's what I'm using that money for. And I just kind of want to share that because it's what gives our money purpose and meaning that allows us to create more money. Keeping it hoarded up and bunched up in an account somewhere and never paying yourself and being afraid to take it out of the business and not knowing how and not wanting to pay other people, and it's just a hot mess. It doesn't do anything for you. It just stays there, right? I saw somebody post on social media in a comment section the other day or something where they said, at one point I had $1 million in cash in my business. And then she wrote, I know I should have been investing it. Yeah. Like I would never, ever, 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 ever keep that much money in my business. I would be investing that. I invest as much money as I possibly can to get it working for me and not hoard it up in a bank account from a point of scarcity. Otherwise, you're just on this never-ending hamster wheel of earning more money and earning more money and earning more money and earning more money. My God, it's exhausting. And I'm not anti-work. I'm not anti-work at all. I put in a healthy amount of work. I'm just saying, can we make it easier on ourselves? So when money comes into our bank accounts, what you have to realize is that first, it's been filtered through. So when my husband's check winds up in our checking account, his 401k contributions have come out of that. He has deposited money in our mortgage bank account, and he has taken care of any other obligations. And so when the time comes that money lands in our checking account, that's what's left for groceries. And like, if we want to go out to eat that week, or, if I want a sweater or something like that, if he needs a new pair of jeans, what have you, we live life on what's left. When my money hits the bank account, I portion that out into the following places. So my money goes into a 401k. I have a 401k for my business. I also have a SEP for my business. And I have 2 Roth IRAs for my kids. So money is going into my 401k, my SEP, my 2 IRAs for my kids. If I have any money left over, in the year, I'll start putting that into my individual brokerage account, which is a taxable account. But I make sure all of my other accounts are populated first. And then I take my money and I portion it out. And some of it goes to a peace of mind fund, an emergency fund, where we want to keep 3 months of our fixed expenses in an emergency fund in a high yield savings account. So for example, mine is in my Capital One account, and at the time of this recording, I think that it's yielding about 3.4% in interest. Interest rates are a little higher right now because of the rising of the interest rates and trying to get inflation down. Usually it's not really that high. It's not really a hill of beans over there, but it's about 3.4% right now. And if you are a single income family, which on my Instagram, I did a survey, about 45% of people were a single income family, 55% were dual income, which someone had said to me, I'm surprised that more people aren't dual income, but that percentage came out very, very, very close to what the national percentage is in the United States. 53% of American households are a dual income household. So if you are a single income household, you are going to want to have 6 months of savings, your fixed expenses saved in a peace of mind fund or an emergency fund, whatever you want to call it whatever you want, just have one. And if you have a partner who works, but they make very minimal money, you're also going to want to go with 6 months. That's kind of like the rule of thumb. So we have our emergency fund that gets funded until it's at a certain number, and then we stop funding it. I have a dog fund. I'll explain that in a minute. I have a vacation fund, and I have a kid fund. So when I had a friend who contacted me and she's like, oh my God, my dog ate a bottle of Advil and it cost me $4,000 to pump its stomach. I was like, oh shit, right? Because I've got 2 dogs. Now I have 3 dogs. And we were always like, oh, should we get the dog insurance? Shouldn't we get the dog insurance? Why does this feel like a grift? I hate paying insurance. We never use it, blah, blah, blah. So we decided that we were going to self-insure the dogs. And that meant that whatever money we would be contributing to insurance, we would just be saving on a monthly basis into a dog fund. And that's where we would pull any expenses that we have for the dogs, their annual vaccines, when we go on vacation and we have them boarded. if we need to pull from that fund because we need like grooming money or whatever, we would be pulling from there. And it comes in very handy to know that these expenses are covered. A vacation fund. So a lot of people don't plan for their vacations, or at the last minute, they're like, I'm so burned out, I need to take a vacation. And they charge it, and then it's on the credit card, and they're needing to pay off the credit card, and it becomes very stressful. But as we've decided to start traveling more and vacation more, that the kids were older, we have started a vacation fund, and we are just monthly contributing to that to build up the funds so we can go and travel and have fun as a family, but not have it stress us out. Seriously, the answer to having whatever you want in your life or business is to have a plan for it and to work that plan diligently and consistently. And the other fund we have is the kid fund. You know, that used to be where I was saving money aside when they were going to camp, and camp was very expensive. That's where I saved some money for my daughter's softball. But the reality is my kids are 14 and 17, and they became very, very, very expensive. And they wanted to live these lifestyles where they were going out every weekend to the movies and to bowling and to dinner with friends and all this stuff. And I turned around to them and said, okay, I will pay for one outing a month. Anything above that, you need to use your own money. And they both went out and got jobs. And it's been the best thing for both of them to have their own money. They're paying for like the 4,001 different body washes they want to try, and the socks that they need to replace, the socks that they leave around at friends' houses and can't find. And they are pretty much paying for all of the things in their life. If they want to go to Starbucks every day, that's amazing, but they're going to pay for it, not me. And so they're really learning the ins and outs of money and finances and planning for themselves. And my son is working, they're both working at the same place. They love it. It's a nice community of people. And my son is really working close to full time in his senior year of high school. And I was very mindful of that because there's research out there that says kids who work 20 hours a week get better grades, but once they go over that 20 hours, their grades can start to suffer. So I've been really watching that, but he's actually consistently making honor roll, working almost full time because he's got something that really motivates him and he doesn't want that taken away. So, don't forget, different strokes for different folks. Try things out. I know that, this might seem really unconventional that I make my kids pay for all the things, but I do. And it's a big help. And it's teaching them responsibility, and it's teaching them the value of $1. And they're thinking twice before they purchase certain things. My son's made some really wise consumer decisions over the last 9 months that he's been working. And I'm really proud of him. My daughter's 14. She's still figuring it out, right? But by the time she gets to be his age, I'm assuming she's going to be in a similar place. My whole goal for them was to kind of expedite the beatings, as I say, and get all the bad money-making decisions out of the way really, really young when it doesn't matter. And there's a lot of buffer so that they're not making these decisions in their 20s or even their 30s. Like, I did when I was in my early 20s and even my mid 20s. So, I think that I said in the Bold Profit Academy the other day, we were having a conversation, and I said the best way to think about saving money is to look at it through the lens of how can I live an unconventional life? Because a conventional life in our society is an expensive life. It's a consumeristic life. And we have a lot of conditioning around what wealth should look like, what we should be spending our money on, what we should have and shouldn't have. And I really want to challenge everybody to overturn that. Go back, listen to some of my Thrive List episodes. We'll link them up in the show notes. And to really consider what the purpose is for your money and to give your money the space to fulfill that purpose. So my money comes in to my checking account, and then it has these sub accounts that it gets put into for the dogs, for vacation, for the kids. My husband said to me the other day, he said, hey, I've got a 50th birthday coming up and I'd really love a new watch. And this is how much it's going to be. Do you think we have enough time between now and August to set aside this money so I can buy this watch? Yeah, we can do that, right? It might require some other trade-offs, but we can get there for sure. So make sure that you're really thinking through what your short-term, midterm, and long-term goals are. One account that I think I might add, as I thought through creating this episode for all of you, the one account that I think I'm actually going to add is an ancillary healthcare cost account, because my health has been super challenging these last couple of years. I have chronic health issues, and it's requiring more doctors, and not all of these doctors either take our insurance or we have a very high deductible plan. So there's a lot of out-of-pocket expense for some of the procedures that I'm having. Like, I just went and had a sonogram on my thyroid, and I just got a bill for a couple of $100s. And I'm like, gosh dang it. Every time I go to a doctor, I wind up with like a $100 to $300 bill, and I could be going to the doctor a couple of times a month. So this is really eating into, aside from inflation, this is really eating into some of our budget. So I think I might start a fund that's like this set aside, so that I don't feel surprised or like I'm scrambling for the money to cover these health costs on a more regular basis. So that's really how to think through, how to portion off your money and give it purpose. And this is not a budget. This is a spending plan, right? This is me saying, I'm going to spend money on the dogs. I'm going to spend money on vacation. I'm going to spend money on a watch for my husband for his 50th birthday. I'm going to spend money on my kids so they can play sports or do the things that they want to do. And I'm going to take care of my health. So this feels very, very abundant to me. This is me thriving. These accounts are aligned with my Thrive list. And again, we will link that in the show notes. So I wanted you to kind of hear how I think through how I use my money and how it moves from my business to my pay to my personal account, and how we navigate that on our end. And I will add by saying, I realize that I'm probably sharing some unpopular beliefs here around what it looks like to be wealthy. But I am a firm believer in the practices and principles that were outlined in the book, A Millionaire Next Door. If you haven't read that book, I want to highly recommend that you do. It's a great book. It really helped me shift and continue to shift how I think about wealth, especially, and I say this especially as a small business owner, but again, listen, there's a lack of security working for somebody else as well. But if your goal is to have a business and have that business provide you with income independent of an employer, sustainable self-employment, and the reason why you're doing that is to thrive and also to provide financial stability and security for your family, we have to think differently about money. What you're seeing online being portrayed as like the epitome of a 7-figure business owner or a wealthy person, in my opinion, isn't the only way. I'll be kind and I will be reserved and say that's not the only picture of wealth there is. And there are a lot of wealthy people out there who you don't ever see because they're not posting that stuff on Instagram. My Instagram is very, very boring if I was to somehow demonstrate my wealth on Instagram. There would be nothing interesting about it. And so for those of you who, like me, want to live more simply, want to live more minimally, want to live free from stuff, but rich in experience, and have that level of financial security for your family, I hope that this episode inspired you in a way that maybe some of those Instagram accounts with the $6,000 Cartier bracelets turn you off. I hope that this inspires you to really look at your money and take those next steps. If you're looking for the revenue goal calculator, go to theboldleadershiprevolution.com/revenue. And if you want to actually implement this, if you want to take action and start making progress today, really go over and sign up for the waitlist for the Bold Profit Academy. The Bold Profit Academy is found at the boldleadershiprevolution.com/academy. There is a waitlist. I take 4 new people a month. I reach out personally and offer you an opportunity to ask any questions that you have, but really take that next step, be bold, and jump on that waitlist. If you found this podcast valuable, help us develop more bold leaders in the world by sharing this episode with your friends, colleagues, and other bold leaders. Also, if you haven't done so already, please leave a review. I consider reviews like podcast currency, and it's the one thing you can do to help us out here at the Bold Leadership Revolution HQ. We would be so grateful for it. Special thanks goes to Stacey Harris from Uncommonly More, who is the producer and editor of this podcast. Go check them out for all your digital marketing and content creation needs. Be sure to tune into the next episode to help you embrace your ambition and leave the grind behind.